Quilty is brought to you by Baby Lock Sewing and Long Arm Machines. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Fairfield. Together, we can make beautiful things. Free Spirit. A new generation of creative and playful fabrics perfect for fashions, home decor, quilting, crafting, and more. Hovels Sewing. Cut it close with Hovels. Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Thermoweb. Manufacturer of heat and bond adhesives and new luxe interfacings. Proudly made in the USA. Ebony, do you ever have to take out quilting?
Yeah.
You? Even you?
Even me. Even me.
Ebony Love, welcome back.
Thank you.
Everybody out there, welcome. On the show today, we're talking about taking quilting out. It's a nightmare.
What is it? They say it's like 5 minutes to put in, 5 hours to take out.
Oh, yeah. If you quilt something and you have to remove the stitching on that, just settle in, right? And that's true no matter how good of a quilter you are. It just takes time to take it out. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, today we're going to have you help us learn how to take quilting out, make it less painful than it has to be, right?
Yes.
Okay. I did this little sample.
I love your little sample.
Thank you. I kind of like my little free motion. Looks like algae or something.
Yes, but Mary,
yeah,
it has some issues.
I know. I made it with issues. Like that was the point.
Yeah.
But turn it over. I mean, like,
yeah.
It's really.
I was looking. I was like, ah.
I adjusted my tension incorrectly to achieve that level of booger.
On purpose.
On purpose.
This is the kind of thing that you want to test off of your quilt. Mm-hmm. So making a little sample like this is perfect.
There you go.
So you can make sure that the tension is correct, because the worst thing is to just say, yep, my machine's ready, it's ready to go, and then you don't check it, and then 5 minutes later you end up with that. And then 5 hours later you can start over.
Oh. on a quilt top that you spent days and days making. Bad. Yeah. So make sandwiches out of scraps and just keep them handy.
You know, there's a little joke about taking stitches out. It's called frogging.
Oh, yes, that's right. I know that.
Rip it, rip it.
It's funny. Rip it. It's great. It's brilliant. Brilliant.
I'm
Long armor humor. Okay, so let's look at your sample, though, because, well, no, do you want to use mine?
No,
we have to
look
at that.
Well, we can look at it. This
okay.
was actually done in a class. And so I take classes at shows, and when you take a class at a show, while they want you to know that the machine is working and it works well, tension is not one of those things that they're going to make sure is perfect while you're doing a little test sample. So it looks okay on the front, but on the back, oh my gosh.
Oh, hello. Hello, thread boogers.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes. So if something like this were to happen on a project at home, I could not bear to leave that.
Okay.
So this would be something that I would probably take out.
Oh,
that's just me.
Yeah.
Now, if it were on a really busy back,
might be okay.
I might leave it.
And that's one of the things we wanted to talk about today is when to do,
when
do you rip? And you had a great sort of rule of thumb.
Yeah, so I make some decisions. So first of all, is this a show quilt or is it just for loving? If it's just a loving quilt, just leave it alone.
Because it's not going to rip out or anything, is it? Okay.
I mean,
it's
unless
just not
the
pretty.
tension is just really out of whack, then then it might. But something like this is just really ugly.
Okay.
But if it's just a couch throw quilt, I'll just leave it alone.
Okay.
If it's a show quilt or it's a quilt that I've made for a client, then it's got to come out because that's just unacceptable.
It's true.
The one that you have where there's kind of a tension. You've got some eyelashes.
Yes. Oh,
we love eyelashes
that's nice.
Here, not in our quilts.
No.
So ripping, you can either take it out from the front or the back, and sometimes, sometimes we like to think, oh, well, you have to take all the stitches out from the front. It might be easier to actually rip from the back of the project.
Right.
And it might also be safer to rip from the back because if you, punch a hole, you're not supposed to cut a hole in your quilt. But if you do, then you can just patch the back, and it's not a big deal. But what you want is a nice sharp seam ripper, and we use the seam ripper in this case differently than how we would use it for piecing. So here the point is to get underneath the stitch on the project so that you can cut it with the knife blade back there. And then I'll usually cut about 5 stitches away.
I think definitely on the back with
Yeah,
this one,
on the
because you have
back,
that
it's
loose
pretty
thread.
easy. Yeah, so if I cut just a few stitches at a time, or I don't cut every stitch, if I cut a few at a time, then I can just pull it out that way.
Cool.
And I don't have to rip, you know, I don't have to actually pluck out every single stitch. So that's what I would use. Sometimes if I have a quilt loaded on a long arm, I'll use a pair of spring scissors.
Right down here so we can see that I go up against it. Yeah, great.
So this is a pair of spring scissors.
Spring scissors.
So
okay.
if I'm working from the front, then it's a similar concept where I'm getting the blades underneath the stitch and just clipping it, and I'll do that every couple of inches. So this is a little bit easier for me to use on a frame because it's curved underneath rather than something that's straight, because the quilt is under tension, and so I can't really get the blade under there. So having a curved blade on the long arm is great for me.
And Ebony, you brought these tools with you because these are your tried and true sort
These
of
are
things.
mine,
We do,
yes.
Hovels makes fabulous swing scissors. Very, like surgical precision, like really, really great ones.
get a
So,
pair.
yeah, we'll make that happen. And then, okay, so then you have all this thread. I mean, you have to be able to tug at it a little bit, but I suppose one of the dangers would be to be pulling too much. You can't rush it, right?
You really
can't.
don't. You really don't. It's one of those things where if you have to be really careful, especially if you're free motioning and your stitch length isn't consistent, then you might have places where if you stayed too long, there's actually a knot there. You have to be really, really careful when you're pulling stitches out.
And pay attention, because if you are getting you've got scissors on your patchwork, so
Yeah.
that says it all. I mean, you do not want to snip a hole in your patchwork. Gosh, so yeah, I mean, and then how to avoid ripping it out is just to do a test sandwich, right? Try your
Test
best.
it, yes.
Test all your quilting before you do
The
it.
only way that I know of to make this more fun
Yeah,
is to have a dance break.
rip a little,
Rip a little.
dance a little, rip a
Rip
little,
it, rip it.
dance a little. There you go. See, you're learning all kinds of things watching this show. Don't even have to leave your house. Thanks, Ebony.
You're welcome,
See you guys. Bye. Quilty is brought to you by Baby Lock Sewing and Long Arm Machines. Baby Lock, for the love of sewing. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread, perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Fairfield. Together, we can make beautiful things. Free Spirit. A new generation of creative and playful fabrics perfect for fashions, home decor, quilting, crafting, and more. Hovels Sewing. Cut it close with Hovels. Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Thermoweb. Manufacturer of heat and bond adhesives and new luxe interfacings, proudly made in the USA.